This is South Asia Matters on Awaaz South Asia, and I'm Nirupama Subramanian. Today, we are going to discuss the relations between Iran and Pakistan in the wake of their tit-for-tat attacks, missile attacks, last week. And with me to discuss this today is Dr. Ayesha Siddiqa, a senior fellow at the Department of War Studies at King's College in London, and the author of two books on the Pakistan military, including the very famous Military Inc. Inside Pakistan Military's Economy. Welcome to South Asia Matters, Ayesha. Welcome back, I should say, because we have done one program with you before. My first question is, where are relations between Iran and Pakistan right now? The tensions were high in the immediate aftermath of Iran's attack on Pakistan and Pakistan's retaliation, but things seem to have cooled down now.
Yes, it's a very funny kind of a relationship that Pakistan and Iran have had since 1979. That's the Iranian Revolution. I mean, at one point, I remember when I was growing up, Iran was always talked about in Pakistan as Pakistan's strategic depth. I mean, the kind of help Iran provided in the 1965 India-Pakistan war and subsequently in carrying out operations against Baloch insurgency during the 1970s. All the equipment, helicopters, gunship helicopters were provided by the Shah's regime. It changed dramatically after 1979 for two reasons, definitely. And one being that the Shia leadership, which took over Iran then, also became guardian for Shias around the world. And let's not forget that in Pakistan, after Iran, the largest number of Shias live in Pakistan. So there was this sectarian tension which built up. Secondly, Pakistan also, in reaction to Iranian revolution, there was this desire amongst the religious clergy in Pakistan that there should be a Sunni state. Pakistan should become that Sunni state to counter the Shia state of Iran. But also then with the with a fight going on in Afghanistan, there was this coming together of different Deobandi Sunni militant groups, and the militancy that was born in Afghanistan, Pakistan after the Afghan war of the 1980s, then became a direct challenge, and it was a constant confrontation between Iran and Pakistan. I mean, at one point, I remember it was 1991, there was a targeted killing of over 100 Shia doctors in Karachi alone. So Pakistan would fight, what was considered in Pakistan as this Saudi-Iran Cold War on Pakistani territory. So things were bad. But in the last decade, Pakistan has made an effort, Iran has also made an effort to bring the temperature down. And while temperature has been brought down, these are two countries, Iran and Pakistan, which can actually weaken each other internally through creating internal security challenges. But what I would like to point out that in this particular attack, while there have been missile attacks, there has been no, an uptake in internal security threat from either side.
Meaning they're not really targeted. Are you saying that they're not targeted each other's militaries?
No. What I'm saying is that they've not started creating a security situation for each other, which they can, which would actually be the more potent threat.
Right.
What they've done is targeted each other's territories, which Iran used to do. It's not the first time. When was it? 2021? There were Iranian troops that crossed over into Pakistan in order to find and rescue a couple of Iranian intelligence officers who had been kidnapped by Deobandi militants, Jaish Adl here. And Jaish Adl has been one of biggest concerns for Iran lately, has been the consistent attack by Jaish Adl, which is a group connected with Jandullah.
Successor to Jandullah.
Sorry?
It's a successor of Jandullah.
It's the successor of Jandullah. And to remind your listeners, Jandullah's leader was Abdul Hamid Rigi, an Iranian Baloch who insisted that he never wanted to separate from Iran, but he wanted to fight for the well-being and of the Sunnis in Iranian Balochistan. Iranian Balochistan is predominantly Sunni, it's not Shia, and that's where the problem is for Iran. So constantly there have been attacks from Jaish Adl on Iran military targets in particular, and even in 2017, Iran launched a drone attack which was intercepted and shot down by the Pakistan Air Force.
So what is different about this particular attack, apart from the fact that they used really sophisticated weapons? Because in these earlier face-offs, they had basically, it was fisticuffs between troops at the border, the border forces, or as you mentioned, a drone. But this is the first time that the Iranians actually used a missile and they hit deep in Pakistani territory. Panjgur is not really very close to the border, if my understanding is right. So what was different apart from this?
Well, a straight line, it is 40 kilometers inside Pakistani territory. 2017 drone attack, was also against a target in Panjgur. So Panjgur, this is not the first time that Iranians have tried to attack Panjgur. The difference is that having carried out the attack, the 2017 attack, we don't even hear about it. This one was not just carried out, the attack was not just carried out, but there was a lot of show about it in Iran. There was a lot of conversation, which is what makes this attack unusual. Firstly, that. And the other thing is that I think it happened, what's important about it is that it happened in a series of attacks. I mean, the day Panjgur was attacked, Iran also carried out two other attacks, one in Kurdish Iraq and the other in Syria, claiming in the other two cases, I mean, although the Iranian foreign minister, when he spoke at Davos, and I believe he had an interview with Fareed Zakaria, he did not say that Pakistan was doing it, or the people or the terrorists in Pakistan were linked with Israel, or there were plants, etc. But he did mention Pakistan and Kurdish Iraq in the same breath. So I suppose that Iranians suspect that there is some linkage between these Deobandi groups, and this is not a surprise. I mean, this claim doesn't come as a surprise, because let's not forget that be it the Taliban in Afghanistan, who are also Deobandi, Sunni Deobandi, they've had a deep interaction with the United States as well. I mean, United States has an independent relationship with the Taliban other than via Pakistan. But Taliban also happen to have good relations with Pakistan. And that's why, even if the suspicion was not on Pakistan, I think the signaling was definitely for Pakistan, that the encirclement that Iran fears is happening.
Mm-hmm.
Since its involvement, its own deep involvement, Iran's involvement with Hamas and Hezbollah, and the recent development in Middle East, what it feels is that there is an existential threat to Iran. There is an encirclement, and it doesn't want Pakistan. It wants Pakistan to be cautious, not to get involved with any American plan against Iran. I mean, I feel that this was purely signaling, nothing more. Because if the threat had to be increased, then there are different ways than that Iran could do it for Pakistan. But it didn't. And in fact, what's interesting is that immediately, not just that they pulled back, but Iranians didn't do much to stop the Pakistani missiles that were shot as a reaction to the Panjgur attack.
So, just one question more about Jaish Adl before we move to Pakistan-Iran relations. Jaish Adl is different from the Baloch separatists in Pakistan, isn't it? I mean, Jaish Adl is a Sunni Devbandi group. It's an extremist group, religious extremist group, whereas BLA and Baloch Liberation Front are sort of secular nationalist militant organizations. So are they cooperating with each other, or are they separate and they carry on their activities separately?
You know, it's a very roundabout, zigzag map. If I were to kind of sit down and start explaining who's connected with whom. So the past couple of decades, BLA, BLF did not have the capacity to attack the Pakistani state. And in fact, all they did was carry out attacks against, low-level workers linked with military companies. For example, you'd have attacks on or killing of workers, workers of, from Sindh and South Punjab who would be working there, building roads for Frontier Works organization. That's a military company. But also, the Pakistani military did often use such attacks to then carry out their own attacks.
Right.
And in this case, it was targeting Nawab Akbar Bukti and finally assassinating him. So, this is done. This is a done thing. I mean, like, for example, yesterday morning, in fact, there's been this great excitement in Lahore and Islamabad. Media, in fact, reported on it, that possibly there will be a BLA, BLF attack on educational institutions using a woman suicide bomber. Now, all of that, and I would argue that, maybe if a small kind of attack is carried out, that would be then used to really, one, push back the Baloch women who are protesting in Islamabad right now, and secondly, to increase footprint in Balochistan and really clamp down on Baloch insurgency. Now, Pakistan military's concern is that Baloch insurgency, this is a story of Baloch separatists who want to kind of not be with Pakistan. They don't really get support. The idea doesn't get support, doesn't have traction on other side of the border, because the difference between Pakistani Baloch and Iranian Baloch is that Iranian Baloch do not want to separate from Iran, and it's a Sunni movement. It's a Sunni Shia thing. In Pakistan, it's not a Sunni Shia thing. They want independence, and these are people who've been fighting, some of them at least have been fighting and protesting against state atrocities
So there
since
is there's no common ground between these
yes.
two groups.
Now, what has
And
turned
when you say that there could be a further crackdown against Baloch separatists, that would not include a group like Jaish Adl. There will be the crackdown will not include a crackdown on Jaish Adl.
no, I suspect not, because Jaish Adl is then linked with other Deobandi groups that Pakistan state has greater comfort with. I mean, I remember that 2000, 2019, 20, I, I personally read Jaish-e-Mohammed. Now, Jaish-e-Mohammed is popularly known as a group which is dedicated to Kashmir. But 2019-20, this was something completely new. Their literature started to kind of criticize Iran. And the fact is that whenever I had interviewed Jaish-e-Mohammed people, the supporters, some of the militants in Bahawalpur, which is my own hometown, and would bring up the issue of, what about their, reaction to Shias. They would say that not now. I mean, our order is not now, but this is not something that we have forgotten. So Deobandi Islamism is very anti-Shia. But what that brings me to your original question of BLA, BLF, and these groups. Now, what has happened is that in the past year and a half, BLA, BLF's capacity, military capacity has grown. I mean, the number of military targets that they've acquired, more critical strategic targets inside urban Pakistan. I mean, for example, in Karachi, the targeting of the Chinese teachers at Karachi University using a female suicide bomber.
Yeah.
All of that, and acquiring more military targets, hard targets. Now, that is a new capacity which they may have gained because of cooperation with the TTP. Now, one had always assumed that BLA, BLF, and Baloch separatists in Pakistan were secular. But
that they would not have any common agenda with TTP of all the groups.
Yeah, I think right now what has happened is that in a battle of survival, a game of survival, what they've done is that there is cooperation, there is evidence of cooperation with the TTP, which still doesn't mean that at a social level, ideologically, they are on the same page. But what it means is that they may have found a common target, which is the Pakistani state.
Would you say that the Pakistan military has recouped some of its image internally, by retaliating against Iran?
I would say that definitely one of the reasons that they decided to respond sharply and not, go the pure diplomatic route was a signal in the region that, lest countries like India think that they can also attack, then they should think about it again.
The Iranians seem to have taken a leaf out of India's book, really.
Yes, but then, to settle the matters that no, you can't just come and do any kind of strikes inside Pakistan. You're right there. Also, there is a deep internal dimension, and the deep internal dimension is that, in the wake of what's happening with the disagreement of the military with Imran Khan and his party, and this constant echo of Imran Khan is more popular and the military is getting less popular. I think this sharp action, was also aimed to recoup some of the army's image. And if you may have noticed, I think other than Asif Ali Zardari, everybody else in Pakistan, all leaders have said, "Oh yes, this was this was a done thing. Yes, it is timely. Uh, they should have
That she did the right thing.
Pakistan did the right thing. It was the right signal to send." Also, suddenly, the media is no longer questioning the military. It's more the nationalist mood. Um,
But within the military too, General Asim Munir, the army chief, has had some problems. So has this changed the mood within the military?
I'm sure it's definitely also aimed at that, at building up his image as this strong man,
Decisive.
decisive, who can take control, uh, who can respond, who can protect, and therefore make those people think about, what do they have there, and so all this intervention, military's intervention with the electoral process, elections which are due to happen on February 8th. Let's see when they happen, if they happen on that date, is meant to kind of mellow down people's mood and kind of divide people. So I would argue that despite that, you know, uh, those who supported Imran Khan, their support has not lessened, but it has definitely mellowed down the mood there against the military.
So what are relations right now between Pakistan and Iran? Where are they? The ambassadors have been they've agreed to take back each other's ambassadors. And I think the foreign minister of Iran is visiting Pakistan soon. So the 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 fears of escalation are not there. They're going to talk it out diplomatically, is what one assumes. What is your sense of this?
I think the temperature will has already come down between Iran and Pakistan. 29th of January, Iranian foreign minister will be in Islamabad. There will be discussions. My concern is really not for Iran-Pakistan. I don't think that either side was in a mood to up the ante, as they say. This is really a one-off, and I'm sure the signal has also registered. Let's not forget that the Pakistani army chief spent 12 days in the United States. So suddenly Iran wasn't sure where Pakistan military could go, with its kind of reaching out to the US. But I think that matter must have settled by now, and there'll be more discussions. My concern really is for the Baloch on both sides of the border, for the internal repercussions this will have. Now, Pakistan has already kind of increased the security of the Iranian-Pakistan border, which interestingly is also the route for a lot of smuggling that ordinary people, not just ordinary people, but also the military organizations that are there were involved in. More than that, Makran on the Pakistani coastal belt gets electricity from Iran. Not just that,
And that's legal. That is an arrangement.
that's legal. Also, all the utilities, the atta, the lentils, the other things, eatables, they come
Everyday
from Iran.
foodstuffs.
Yeah, food stuff that comes from Iran. And in fact, it's easier to get Iranian fruit in Balochistan than what's grown in Balochistan. The road network in Iran is much better. Also, there will be more clampdown, more disappearances, more pressure on the ordinary Baloch. So, the problem is that there is the Baloch tribal elite, more than half of whom sit with the Pakistani state in its parliament. That's not where the problem is. The problem is the middle class, lower middle class Baloch, who has started to protest the behavior of the Pakistani state, and to whom the Pakistani state just does not respond. So they are the ones who get uncomfortable, and all the crackdown will be against them. There will be, and on both sides. I'm not sure that Jaish Adl is going to go away anywhere. Perhaps there's going to be more conversation, and that way, in some respect, the TTP linkages, all of that, and TTP right now is attacking the Pakistani state itself.
So tell me one thing, if I may interrupt you here. Is TTP, are you saying TTP is also linked with, or it has some kind of cooperation with Jaish Adl?
I wouldn't be surprised if there is. I mean, there has to be communication. I mean, these are Sunni Deobandi. Jaish Adl is Sunni Deobandi group, militant group. So is TTP. And if both are, in a way, fighting state apparatus, one more so on the Iranian side, they would have much to cooperate. And definitely, for the sustenance. I mean, look at Jaish Adl sitting in Panjgur or in other parts of Balochistan. That kind of survival does require cooperation with other militants and other militant groups. So that has to be there.
So do you, this whole business, how has it changed Iran-Pakistan relations in any way? Or is it all, brotherly again? Just one last question. How have the people reacted in Pakistan to this, to these tensions? And how the political parties, say Nawaz Sharif, and the others in the race, Bilawal Bhutto, what kind of statements have they made?
Of course, the PMLN stands with the military. All other groups stand with the military. Asif Ali Zardari was the only one who didn't really either. I think because for one reason, he is staking his bets in Balochistan in these elections, and he doesn't want to create more discomfort by patting military on the back. I mean, he's already has faced problems when he went to meet Sarfaraz Bukti and people who've been militants, state militants, and killing the Baloch population. So I don't think that he wanted to create trouble for himself. Internally, what it has done is that, in Islamabad and Lahore, suddenly people were talking about, hi, what are they doing with these women? Now, suddenly they kind of put a stop to that growing sympathy. And
growing sympathy for Iran, for Baloch?
No, not for Iran, but for the Baloch.
For Baloch, yes.
My concern, and let me remind you that the state has been pushing the anti-Baloch narrative for quite a while now. Sabeen Mahmood, who was assassinated in Karachi, her fault. I mean, later on, they kind of lay the blame on some jihadi boy or some Islamist boy who thought that her celebrating Valentine's was bad. The fact of the matter is that she was threatened when she tried to hold a seminar in her think tank, cafe, T2F on Balochistan. She wasn't deeply political, but what she really believed in was let people talk. That was her politics. And salute her for that. In the evening, after the seminar, she's going home, she gets assassinated. Right before that, Lahore University of Management Sciences tried to hold a seminar on Balochistan. They were told to shut up and, withdraw from it. So suddenly, with these Baloch women, human rights activists, they're making a case for human rights. They're not even talking about separating from Pakistan. All they're asking is, if our loved ones who have disappeared, if they are culpable of any crime against the state, bring them out, try them under the law in the courts. If you've killed them, at least let us know so we can have a closure. Right? It's a deep human rights case that they are making. And this is what the state now wants, is very uncomfortable with.
So
They
are they
want to
still in Islamabad, these this protest of by women? Are they still camping in Islamabad?
Yes. They're still camping in Islamabad. And the latest, what I've heard is and seen on media, is now the press club. The press club representatives have written a letter to Islamabad police asking to evict these women from the press club. That's where, they were staying. So, and we know that press club must have been pressured because the caretaker government is under tremendous pressure by the military, asking them to find a way to evict these women. Because it's solid ground. You're not asking for an attack on the state. You're asking for for your own closure, for justice, and for being reconciled and with your loved ones and their whereabouts.
Aisha, this has been a very interesting conversation, and I could go on and on, but I think we have uh, gone on for already, we are way beyond time. So my eye has been on the clock, and I think it's time now to end this discussion. Thank you very much for your insights. Thank you very much for your time that you've given to South Asia Matters. Viewers, if you like this program, press the subscribe button and follow us for updates on AwaazSouthAsia.com. Thank you.